Hello and a warm welcome to another episode of the Third Half Podcast, a podcast where we talk all things Sport.Fun, covering both football and American football. I'm Palmer, and today I'm joined with my co-host, Laird. Laird, how you doing, mate?
I'm good. 5 seconds ago, we were in the middle of a conversation, and you were like, I don't want to put you in this spot. Oh, wait, let me just put record. And so here we are.
Well, yeah, I mean, we were just having a little discussion about kind of what to talk in today's episode, and I'll repeat for everybody that's now listening. So a few days ago, I'd kind of seen that Nicholas Sorare man had put a poll out on Twitter for Sorare 26 and moving into Sorare 27. And the poll covered what people would like to see change. So you have the player tiers, the DNPs, mobile UX and speed, and the classic card utility. Classic card utility as of today is 54% in the lead, with DNPs second, and then player tiers and mobile UX kind of covering third and fourth. So I saw that a few days ago, and I'd then seen some people kind of replying and on threads and quotes, which is what brought that to my attention. I've then seen in kind of the Sport.Fun Discord's conversation about, will we see mass integration of Sorare users to Sport.Fun? What are kind of the pros and cons? And then yesterday, which as of time of kind of posting this, it'll be 2 days ago on the Tuesday, yourself, Laird, had a call with PSU fans, Sean, and I was just saying there was a quote that stuck out with me, which was Sorare Sucks, as you said, on the 41st minute, and I just think, why not talk about it? Because it's clearly, there's a hot topic again around kind of the Sorare users and what do they do going forwards, as well as the Sport.Fun people looking at what do they do going forwards. And I think there's a lot of crossover. So I don't want to put you in the middle of it, but we'll have an hour of putting you in the middle of it and see what see what happens.
So I'll have to, it's going to come out of me hedging a lot here. And so I'm going to do that. But let me provide a little bit of background, at least, on that conversation that Sean and I had. So Sean and I have been on Sorare for 5-ish years, however long it is. I referred Sean to Sorare. Sean is effectively in the top 0.1% of users on Sorare in terms of gallery-wise, how many cards they have and winnings over the years. And for people that joined when we did, we got to experience the highs and lows of Sorare, and the highs were absurdly high, where on any given week, the top prize was worth $25,000 for people who played kind of just the base level game. Not even like limited cards didn't exist. For those of you who are listening to this and know nothing about Sorare, there are basically 4 scarcities of cards, but back then there were only 3. And the lowest scarcity card, top prize at the time, you could sell for like $25,000, and now you can sell it for like maybe $1,000. Maybe it's a little more. I don't even know. I don't win them. Well, actually, I take that back. I literally won it this past weekend. Their current, they call it All-Star, like their classic competition, main comp. I won it, and I won Sebastian Berhalter, who is a midfielder for Vancouver Whitecaps. I sold it for $290, and 5 years ago, if that was Mbappe, it's $25,000, which gives you an idea of kind of like where the platform is in terms of how the game works. Now, the game is very different now. They have this kind of in-season model where you compete for cash, and this classic style where you compete for cards. That's where I won it, and so Sean used to regularly compete for that $25,000 and now is regularly competing for $300. And you can just appreciate what that does to a user over that time. Now, that being said, I think there are people who have joined Sorare in the last year or two who are super happy with the game and really like it. But there is kind of a neighborhood of OG users who just aren't happy about it. And Sean's one of them, which is why he says things like Sorare sucks. And I think one of the things that draws him to Sport.Fun is the fact that each individual player is almost a pick on itself, and the lack of picking lineups that are fully dependent on every player in that lineup performing well for you to win is a bit of a drag when there's no substitute solution. If somebody is a late scratch, like we saw Florian Wirtz got scratched late this week or this weekend, and if you had him in a Sorare lineup, you're dead. And if you have him on Football.Fun, obviously we saw, I think there was like a 50,000 share trade, like right when it got announced. His price is going to go down, but it also doesn't affect the other players that you have. If you have Romagnoli along with Wirtz, like, you still win. God bless you if you do have both of those guys. But there are just certain things about Sorare that older users have frustrations about, and I share some of those frustrations. I mean, I've been on the site for, like I said, 5-ish years, and the things in that tweet were essentially like, what are we trying to fix? What should we fix? And it's 4 problems that have existed for my entire time on the platform. And so it's kind of like, it's been long enough. We can figure this out surely. But this doesn't have to turn into a Sorare show for that reason. But there is kind of this discussion in a lot of SDF places of, can we get a lot of Sorare users over to Sport.Fun? And I think that's where I kind of come in, because my Web3 background is on Sorare, and I obviously have come over to Sport.Fun. And I think one of the things that I have a problem with is that there's so much like platform tribalism. That's how I'll call it. Where when Sport.Fun launched, basically as Football.Fun, and people from Sorare saw it, they were just like, oh, it's a scam, it's this, it's that, I would never play that. And they just look at it as this thought of, I would never leave Sorare to do that, as if it's illegal to do both. And that's one of the things that I've kind of always, at least over the last year since I left Sorare Data, playing multiple games, like, we don't eat the same food every single day. We don't watch the same shows. And this idea that you can only play one fantasy product is absurd. And so I don't think that the move is, hey, let's get all of these Sorare players to give up on Sorare and come play Sport.Fun. I think it's acknowledging that both of them are good times, and you can be successful on both if you want. And so one of the things that I learned early on about Sport.Fun when I was talking to Adam, and it was on a live stream on my other channel, was like, he played Sorare, and he played Football Index, and he played all of these other games that didn't survive. And he took the time to kind of investigate of why they didn't work. What worked about them? What did people like about them? What doesn't work? And then created a platform that addressed all of those things. And I think that's what really got me comfortable with Sport.Fun. And because, like, I'm not a big crypto guy. I don't buy meme coins. I don't get into all of these NFT mints early on. Like, that's just not how I play. And so when I was presented with Sport.Fun, it was like, I didn't join because I thought it was like a pump and dump. I don't do that. I'm the person that gets dumped on. Like, and so when people were kind of calling it out and saying things like that about Sport.Fun, it was just clear that they took zero time to know what it was about. And not to say that everybody needs to like go watch my videos with Adam, but the reason why I was comfortable with it is because of my conversations with Adam, that he clearly recognized, and obviously there are other people at SDF, but he was just kind of the face at the time. But they clearly saw what the issues were with other sites, and he wanted to build a site that he would play himself, that he thought would be enjoyable and rewarding and fun. And for all of the people that were like, I had people comment, like, coming to me in private and be like, be careful, like, this is clearly and I'm like, this is clearly you not knowing what this is. And so I was very confident with that Sport.Fun was going to be something legitimate. And every day that goes by, with the way that they speak about the platform, with the way that they speak with users and address any concerns that people have, they want this platform to be great. And you can't create a great platform by screwing a ton of people. And
Yeah.
so the more that I am involved in sport on the Sport.Fun platform, the more I'm confident that this is going to be something that lasts and that's going to be enjoyable for me as a user. And comparing it to other platforms, I mean, the only reason to compare them is like, where do I want to put my money? And if the answer is both, like, that's okay. Like, you don't have to just choose one and just be like, I'm going to be a stan for this platform, and you can enjoy both. And that's kind of what I do. And that was a really long answer that I don't even remember what the question was.
I was going to say there was a lot in that for me to now try and like kind of unwind, but one word that you said early on was tribalism, and I think that word and the act of tribalism runs deep in many people. I mean, my mind started thinking of other things. You know, the conversations of, do you play Xbox or PlayStation? Never people go, oh, I have both. It's one or the other. Do you play FIFA or PES? I play FIFA, not PES. Do you play Call of Duty or do you play Battlefield? Do you go McDonald's or KFC? Like there's this kind of mindset about, you can, if you do one, you cannot do the other. You know, do you have an iPhone or a Samsung? You have Samsung, you have an iPhone, like it's that kind of, that clash. And obviously we see it here, we see it with other games. In one of the conversations I mentioned MFL and Footium, you know, they're very much for a long time, they're side by side. There's a few people that had crossover. I played both at a period. But people do normally tend to go, I favor this one, and so I'm just going to go all in on that, and they don't look elsewhere. But yeah, I mean, that in itself is kind of, it's not a Sport.Fun issue. It's not a Sorare issue. That's just the psychology of people, that they feel comfortable and they go with what they know. They build the community, they build friendships, and they stick with that even when they kind of become disgruntled with it. Backtracking all the way back to Nicholas's poll on Twitter, it's quite interesting for me to kind of sit and to read and to look at those kind of issues, problems, I don't know what you want to kind of label them as, that he's kind of put out to tackle. And I think one of the replies I'd seen the other day was, it was something like, DNPs has been in the last 3 polls you've done on what to tackle. Yeah, it's always been picked, but it's always been second. So, you know, there's always been this kind of 30-40% majority of people that want to do it, but they're not minority, 30-40% minority, but they're not the majority to get it over the line and fixed. And I kind of look at those issues and then look at Sport.Fun, and actually you can't relate those issues on that poll to Sport.Fun. Like, there is no classic card utility need, because you buy the shares, and those shares that you buy will last the player's entire playing career. It's not season by season reset. DNPs, whether that being benched or by injury, yes, you might see a drop off, but with Florian Wirtz, as you mentioned, I don't know the exact figures. Florian Wirtz got injured in the warm up, he got a sell off. After the game, Arne Slot came out and said, oh, it was a bit of a precaution. Florian Wirtz said he wasn't 100%. He knows the requirements of the Premier League. He has to be 100%. So he took the precaution and benched him. And immediately there was the buybacks into him. So if you were to go on holiday for the weekend and come back on Monday, you would know no different. You know, your value would still be holding in Florian Wirtz, and you would still have the opportunity to win on everybody else. Whereas, like you say, with Sorare, you know, you're dead in the water. And again, with the player tiers, we don't have that crossover. You know, if you're a whale and if you're somebody small with $50, you're in the same boat, and there is no difference on kind of, you know, it's proportionate to the size. So it's so interesting kind of listening to people and reading people on Twitter saying, this is such a problem, this is such an issue, being presented with I won't say a fix, because I don't think it is a fix, but being presented with another opportunity to go elsewhere and play without those same problems. But the tribalism kicks back in and says, no, I've been here for too long. I don't want to up and leave. And I think on a Sport.Fun perspective, I don't think we'll see, you know, overnight masses of people coming over. But there certainly needs to start being a conversation there from people within Sorare of saying, either Sorare needs to fix itself and regain people, or I think there will start being a slow bleed of people picking their heads up and looking elsewhere. And it's a sticky position, I think, to be in, especially for people like yourself, like Sean, who are so ingrained in Sorare that they almost can't see an exit anymore.
So, I mean, I still really enjoy Sorare. I have
Mm.
tons of issues with certain aspects, most of which were in that poll right there, and there probably is a good bit of I'm in so deep that getting out, I can't like it. I shudder just thinking about the process of having to do that. But also, I enjoy the game enough, and I think not many people look at Sorare cards as collectibles, but there are a few that I just want to own. And I'm like,
Mm.
that makes it a collectible. Not everybody needs to think it's a collectible. I'm not buying them because I think they're going to be worth $1 million one day. It could be that I'm just going to print them out and get a fake card like that. Um, and it's just that, and that's something that I just enjoy about the platform. The DNP thing is kind of interesting because for those of you um, who don't really follow Sorare at all, listening to this, just it's really just a lineup problem. And fantasy
Mm.
sports have long been about lineups, and that's sort of the point, which I think is why I really like Sport.Fun, because it breaks that mold. But if you just picture yourself in the situation of if you own Florian Wirtz and you own shares of Florian Wirtz on Football.Fun, and then all of a sudden he gets scratched, and they're like, okay, so not only do you lose that, but also you don't get to count your Mbappe, Olise, and Kane shares this week either. And you're
Mm.
like, think of how you would respond to that. And you'd be like, wait. That's why people get so fired up about the DNP problem on Sorare. But there's also kind of um, this group of people who don't want it fixed because they're convinced that they win when other people have DNPs,
Yeah.
which I don't even want to go down that absurdity because it's like the dumbest argument I've ever heard. And my like blood pressure rises whenever I see it. But it's an interesting comparison with Sport.Fun where it's not really all of us competing against each other. And that's kind of the foundation of fantasy sports. Like you want to go out and beat everybody else, but on Football.Fun, or Sport.Fun, I still can't like get FDF out of my head. But is this opportunity that we can all win together? That if we all
Mm.
have shares of the same guy, then we win. And if fewer people have shares, then we win more. But this kind of led me to a question that I had for you, because Sorare over the years has gotten way more complicated than it used to be. And I've always kind of tried to not even sell Sorare, explain Sorare as it's fantasy sports with football cards. And you buy the cards and you play them in lineups. And it's not even the tip of the iceberg. It's like the single flake at the top of the iceberg. But I go to explain any more about it, and then it's just this whole conversation, all the leagues and all the scarcity. So it gets complicated very quickly. And Sport.Fun on its surface is very easy. Buy shares. If they win, you win. But I
Mm.
feel like the recent conversations, and I talked about this with PSU fans too yesterday, that there's more of a recognition of the importance of the number of active shares in players, and that when Elise has 4.5 million, but Romagnoli has 1.5 million, and if you have the same amount of money, you win a lot more than the other. Do you think that part of the game of you want to target guys that not many people own, do you think that's simple enough for people to understand?
I think so. When you start talking layers of strategy, I think you almost don't want it to be simple,
Okay.
because otherwise it's then just a mathematical plug and play of this, is the better outcome on percentages of possibility of whatever. And I like the simplicity of Sport.Fun where you can almost ignore the active shares and you can still go and win. Yes, that week you might win less, but for me, it's about, will my player get top 5? Because if I can predict every single one of the top 5 attackers that week, well, I'm going to do that because I shouldn't then substitute it for somebody who might finish, who actually finishes 13th on the off chance that if they were to have finished top 5, I would have got a lot more. I think the kind of active shares and that mathematical equation almost exists because of other people using that same knowledge of I've recently picked up today Adeyemi. Obviously when this goes out tomorrow, everybody will know the scores of the Dortmund game, but in the next few hours, I'm going to find out whether Adeyemi will be starting for Dortmund against Atalanta. Now, if he doesn't, I'll lose money. If he does, his cost will go up, and should he then get top 5, it will go in. I've not looked at his active shares and thinking, oh, I need to go and do that and win there. I'm just looking at the fixtures and just, picking that player and going and jumping into him. There certainly could be more done on a Sport.Fun kind of UI, UX, whatever you want to call it, in terms of highlighting the importance of what you could and should win. But then we've got third-party sites that kind of have started to do the back-end calculations. We obviously had AJ on in terms of the football. We've had Bacon on for the NFL. You've got, I always hate saying his name, Fukin No One. He's got all his June dashboards. He's now got a base app. He's got Telegram groups of kind of all this other things. So if you want to dive down the rabbit hole, it takes time and energy. To just do it as a pure comparison standpoint, my frustration almost with Sorare is, should I want to go and pick a Dortmund player for this Champions League games, I can't just go and pick up an Adeyemi. I have to go get 5 players. And now, if I want an extra boost on him, I have to go get him first owner and pay even more than getting him on the secondary market. And then I also have to have players in seal, in the vault, to get extra boosts. And then I've got to get under points. That, for me, is very obvious what I've got to do, but it's also very, very complicated. Whereas the Sport.Fun strips it back and just says, put your football knowledge to the test. Can you predict outcomes, put your money where your mouth is, and go and back the winners? Mm-hmm. That, for me, is a lot more engaging, and it offers a lot more twisting and turning to kind of get where I think it should go.
Yeah, being able to plant your flag on one player is a huge advantage. Obviously, you'll need a couple more to qualify for everything, but you don't need.
Yeah.
If you wanted to plant your flag, like you said,
I can put $1 in 4 other people and still qualify. It's
right. Or even if you just had, a little bit of everyone else, or even just a couple, and then you can plant your flag. I think it leads to the more ability, and I don't think we're seeing this yet as much. But if Adeyemi finishes first this week, which good luck to you, then you can. It's very easy for you to show that I bought all these shares, he smashed, I was right. Here are my rewards, and that's it. And that's a great kind of cycle of. You don't have to do it every week. You could also buy ahead of time, and say, I'm targeting whoever for this match in 2 weeks, and I think he's going to go up before then. And so I'm going to buy now knowing, and then he's first. And the victory lapping is a lot easier than I was right about Adeyemi, but because I had 4 other shit players that I had no interest in, you don't benefit from that insight.
Yeah, definitely. And that was my frustration. So my Sorare career, albeit short, ended up with me just going a full stack on Liverpool. I had 1 team each week. Eventually I put it up to 2 and got a second goalkeeper. But that, for me, wasn't, it wasn't beneficial. Mm-hmm. I screwed myself over by not having a diverse people and trying to pick these players from, such and such is going to do well. We've just seen Sorloth in the Champions League score a hat-trick last night, and so you should go pick him and then him and him. It doesn't suit it to full stacking, whereas, again, Sport.Fun for me almost does. I have shares in Tapsoba, Kwanzaa and Grimaldo. Yes, the game week's not finished, but so far 2 of the 3 look like they're going to finish in the top 5 because Bayer Leverkusen kept a clean sheet. They did well. They played well. So that, yes, okay, as the game gets bigger, there might be more players to pick from, and that's going to get a little bit harder. But that simplicity for me is the beauty in Sport.Fun, that I'm not constantly going, right, I now need to scroll through, and try and find this second string striker who's going to be starting and see if he's going to do this. It's such a difficult one, and some people love that. Some people love, like you said, you mentioned, I think you're actually wearing the hoodie Sorare data. I think I caught a glimpse of it. But yeah, I thought I caught a glimpse of the green. So people would spend hours on Sorare data. People are going through predicted lineups. People on Sorare, some people absolutely love that lineup setting, trying to put together this impossible puzzle of getting 5 key players that are going to get, kind of the top scores and that sense of achievement. So it's not taken away from anybody. It almost goes back and leans to what you said at the very beginning, that tribalism. People know what they like and stick to what they know. And that's I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I almost feel like without having any crossover, they could in turn push each other to be better. And I'd almost like that, rather than everybody going to Sorare or everybody coming from Sorare to Sport.Fun and crushing the other one and just having this monopoly. I think the competition could help push it on. I'm sure that the Sport.Fun growth and us talking about no DNPs might spark them to go and fix the DNPs so that people don't leave. And people then on Sorare will be sitting there really happy. So it's not to kind of promote or to bash one or the other. It's nice to compare the two.
Yeah, I think knowing that there is an alternative that has found a solution. Now, I don't think that the way that Sport.Fun tournaments works for Sorare, but there are aspects of the platform that they could learn from. Absolutely. And in the same way that, strangely, this is going to sound like I'm slighting Sorare, but it happens. But I think that Sorare could learn a lot from Sport.Fun in terms of how to make the game more exciting. And Sport.Fun tends to learn from Sorare's mistakes. And maybe that's just because one has existed for 5 or 6 years and the other one is barely a year. But yeah, I think there's a benefit to the user to play both, just because you can understand what the strengths and weaknesses of each platform are. And if there's something that you're on Sorare and you're just like, man, I wish I could do this, and you can do that somewhere else, I think that's okay to do it. And I'll long be kind of this anti-tribalism guy when it comes to these games, because like we play these things because they're fun and enjoyable and we can make some money doing it, and completely shutting out one possibility just because you feel like you have to be a stand for a platform it's absurd. And so that's why I like doing content about both of them, because I feel like I can provide kind of a viewpoint of, hey, if you have a frustration about this, there is an alternative. And maybe you're frustrated about Sport.Fun and there's something on Sorare that you like, hey, that's fine too. Like, it's okay to play both. And that's the beauty of these Web3 games, that there's no, when you sign up, they're not like, hey, you don't play anywhere else, do you? And it's like, just go play, go have fun, man.
If you had to, if Adam was asking you, right, Laird, I need you to write out a tweet and give 4 things that Sport.Fun needs to improve on for the next football or next NFL season, what kind of 4 things do you think you'd be looking at for Sport.Fun?
So are you asking what I want or what I think would help like the platform grow?
Give us 2 of each, make it fun.
Yeah. Well, no, because I feel like suggestions for sites, like whatever the site you're on, even if it's like MFL, most suggestions are totally selfish. Like, you want to change so that it benefits you. Otherwise, you wouldn't want the change, right? So the easy answer is like, oh, I just want something that makes the number go up. And it's like, we don't really want Sport.Fun to do that, because once you start kind of like artificially increasing prices, once those things stop, and then they're like, uh-oh, everything
Game over.
goes bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
From a gameplay perspective, to be honest, I think that Sport.Fun knows what they're missing. And Adam kind of, I think, has said it a few times that what the site looks like now is like way different than it's going to look in 6 months. And if you just look at what's on there now versus what was on there 6 months ago, it's way different. And so I think from a gameplay perspective, I think, and this is probably not the benefit, like this is probably isn't what Sport.Fun should be doing specifically themselves, but it kind of came up in the live chat of the stream with PSU fans yesterday, that I think there's confusion with the whole like $100 or TP per $100. If you're new, nobody knows what that means. And so we had this example, I think it was Romagnoli. Was it? Whoever. But it was essentially like, if you had bought $100 worth of Romagnoli and he finished first, like you would, on average, you were going to win about $176 worth of shares. And that's an easy thing for people to see. And I know that they can't kind of just reward gold directly, which is why we have TP and packs and all that stuff. But I think it's some sort of way to make it easier for people to really understand what they're winning. And I think it's the biggest problem on Sport.Fun right now. And Adam has mentioned it a couple times, and I know Rick's has said it, where people are like, oh man, I only got this 250 gold pack. And it's like, just won $250. And you did the same thing 3 days ago. And 4 days before that, you won 5. And the numbers, it's almost like the numbers don't mean anything to people. And not that you want everybody selling their shares immediately and cashing it out, but like, I think that's the problem, is that it's not that they're over rewarding. It's that the user base doesn't understand or doesn't conceptualize what they're winning enough. And I'm guilty of it too. I get like $175 pack and I'm just like, okay. And it was like, I haven't made a trade, like a sizable trade, other than just kind of accumulating shares I have, in a while. I don't rebalance my portfolio a ton. Like the way that I play is fairly stagnant, I guess. Like I'm not going out and full porting out of Yemi. And so being able to, not that I'm just milking rewards every week, because I do make some changes, but I feel bad when I'm just like, why am I disappointed that I just won $200?
I think, that for me is definitely a big factor. Is you go back to what you were saying with yourself. You've just won $1,000 in Sorare this weekend. Sean had won, I forget the figure, this week as well, without even realizing or caring. Once you win in Sorare, it's in your wallet. You see it in the corner of your screen in dollars, pounds, Ethereum. Like it's there. You can withdraw it straight away, or you can put it in, or there's no more funny business. And I think the confusion sometimes is, oh, I've won gold. And it's like, gold is US dollars, like that. It's a 1-for-1 conversion. Like if that number that says at the bottom of the screen, and people go, but I've then got to sell it and pay a 3% fee. It's like, okay, so that gold is that minus 3%, or you can keep it in and add to your shares and potentially go win more from it and kind of have it compounding. That is definitely kind of a roadblock, maybe speed bump, what should we call it, where people are going down this kind of avenue of, what am I actually winning on Sport.Fun compared to there? And I was just trying to find it. I don't want to say, I can't remember if it was, I mean, obviously both guys big in Sorare community, McBride, Ace and Hatton. I can't remember which one it was, but I'd read one of their replies in the week, and it was kind of about people asking, on the back of this poll and these changes, and they kind of had worded it. I'd rather have had it in front of me to kind of quote it, but they were kind of saying about, the reality is, you're not buying players to look at their sell value. Like in Sorare, it's a common knowledge. You buy at the start of the season, you hold them for the season, and you try and win back rewards. And it's known that if you buy in that first week or two, you're going to be paying above the odds in Sorare. So you could potentially wait a month into the season and then start buy on the secondary market or buy in the auctions from there. And it's known that once you put the money in, you're not looking to sell that player to regain your money. You're looking to win in tournaments to profit. That mentality isn't quite the same in Sport.Fun. People buy shares in a trading system because I think Sport.Fun is more linked to an Ethereum, to a Bitcoin, to any kind of stocks and shares, where you only regain profit when you're trading stocks and shares when you hit sell. There's no kind of gain in the meantime. You buy at a price, you sell at a price, and you hope that you're selling higher than you bought. And if you do, you're in profit. That's kind of how Sport.Fun is. You buy at a price and you sell at a price, and people are hoping they sell in profit. They're not quite looking at, have you won gold? We are seeing kind of the changes. When you now get into the play at the very bottom, you see the price that you bought, sold, contract renew. It would be quite nice if you start seeing this player earned you X amount of TP, and then you see that line of that. And then there's another place where you can go and look at, over the past however long, your average TP to gold conversion rate is this. So you can then factor in and say, okay, well, I've bought this player for X price, I've sold him for Y, and it's told me that I've won I've won tournament points with him 3 different times. I've won 4,000 TP. My TP conversion rate is this. That's roughly about $400 that I've made off this player. And that's then when I think in Sport.Fun, you'll start seeing a kind of a mentality that's akin to Sorare in terms of holding and holding for long term. So for me, if I was doing kind of a what changes, improvements would you like to see poll, I don't know how the fuck you'd word that, to be honest. Clarity on earnings, I guess, is what I'd like to see in Sport.Fun, because even now, there was a player that I can't remember what it was. I bought him and sold him like 3 weeks later. He'd come, I think, 4th in one tournament, and that was it. And I sold him at a loss. And I know it was a loss because of the buy and sell, but I can't now go back and look at how much TP he won me in that 4th place and what that was in the pack and the gold, and to actually know whether I'm up or down and shift my mentality. So I'm just kind of sat there going, I've lost, when actually I might have won on him.
Do you think that if most of the new Sorare users understand that they're going to buy something and the value is just going to tank, but the point is to win back what they are? And honestly, that's been a problem that Sorare's had forever. That because there was a time where you could buy and sell and make money. Like the card that got me started, it was like a Hussein Awar, who plays in Saudi now. He was in, where was he? Lyon, maybe? Whatever. I bought his card for like $100 and sold it for like $2,000 2 weeks later. And that I'm free rolling after that for 6 years. Not really, but that's sort of what happens.
Yeah.
And so somebody like Sean went through that, and now is like, you buy cards with the expectation that they're not worthless, but let's call it worthless by the end.
Yeah.
But the game is buy these cards, win your cash back, and that's it. Do you think that is almost like a negative with Sport.Fun, that people are still so focused on what they paid for shares versus what they've won, that is a problem for the platform? Yeah, I won 5,000 TP, but the price is now down 25%. And so, and I feel like people focus, and the Sport.Fun guys know this. Like, they know that they have to do a better job of showing what you've won. But do you think it's a problem that still, because it's a fairly liquid marketplace, that if you buy shares and they go down, like, that's the only thing you see?
Yeah, definitely. And again, talking last week with AJ on this standpoint where I think the team are in an understanding that they need to have an overhaul of what the user sees on the website. Obviously, one of the kind of things that AJ raised was maybe an advanced button. You know, you click advanced and you see all these wonderful lines and graphs and charts and figures about price action and trading. But also, you know, kind of talking about potentially there being a very basic button where you don't see the price movements. All you see is you have this many shares and this is the tournament points you've won and this is the gold you've got. And stripping it away from that, because there is certainly something to see, you know, to say for the mentality around it. And I think to call it a problem, I'm not sure if it is, because it's almost by design. That's what the team has done. You know, every single player has a little price chart, up, down, green or red, with a, you know, percentage over the past hour, past 24 hours. You go past week, month, year. So by design, that is the information they're giving us. So because we've been given that information, that is what we're going to look at. That is what we're going to see. And I think if the developers wanted to change that, it wouldn't be a simple thing. You know, I understand that, because over the past, 5-6 months now of playing, this is kind of the mentality that users have gained. But I certainly think there could be something done to change that and to kind of highlight tournament points earned rather than, you know, the price action. It should be oh my God, you bought this player for $100. He's now worth $2,000. Fucking well done, you, Laird. Pat on the back, you know, smashed it. But that shouldn't be a common thing. And yeah, I would like to see player specific tournament points earned over the career of me owning them. Because when I look at a player chart and see they won, you know, they were second here, third here, fourth there, fifth there, they missed it here, I don't know if I own them then or not. I don't know the exact TP that they gave me. I don't know what TP that got me in terms of packs or shares or gold. So, you know, hold my hand, walk me through it, explain to me what I've won, and help change the narrative. I'd absolutely be on board for that. And just quickly as well, I think that would be so helpful for the NFL season. The NFL season is so short. You buy your players at the start of the season. You're almost guaranteed that after 20 weeks, the Super Bowl ends, they're going to have gone down in value because fewer people are holding for the off season. Let me know how much I won throughout that season in tournament points in gold. I think by showing that, rather than people obsessing over the price charts, will be absolutely brilliant. And then allow a toggle for an advanced mode for those people that want to be trading day in, day out in between tournaments. Separate those users from the people that are going, nah, I've got $200, I'm sticking it on Josh Allen, let me see what I win this season. I think that would be a great adjustment.
Yeah. Thankfully that they know. So like that's on their
to-do
radar
list
in terms of what they want to do. And so, yeah, it's just, you know, everything needs to be prioritized. And so it's just a matter of when we get there. Have you thought about what they might do for the Champions League final?
Oh no, actually, I was having a conversation with Greek this morning. Actually, my strategy for the Champions League final, I think I need to start planning about that. I have no idea what the team are planning, but I understand I need to start paying attention to that, because I think there's going to be a lot of strategy in there. One of the thoughts I had is using the playoffs in the NFL to kind of think about it. We obviously saw tight ends in the NFL playoffs. There was, I think it ended with one, but for like those 2 or 3, it was a lock what you were getting. I think the best thing for that's possibly going to be the goalkeepers, trying to see potentially who's going to get far in the Champions League. You know, what Neuer isn't really set at Bayern. Is it going to be a kind of Courtois? Real Madrid, is he going to be the furthest lasting goalkeeper in the game, in the players that we have? David Raya, another one. I think it's going to be interesting to kind of strategize for myself on that one.
Yeah, the tricky thing that I have with planning ahead for that is, and using NFL as kind of the I don't want to call it the model, but that's the only thing that we have
Yeah.
of getting to one final game is post Super Bowl, which is this lull we're in now, which is just like understandably boring, but man, it is really boring. But there's a very big difference between the Super Bowl happening in February and the season starting in August, September.
Mm-hmm.
I know that there'll be some training camp things that move the market a little bit, but that's a long time as opposed to the Champions League final, which is the end of June. End of May, right? End of May.
You questioning me here.
And then the World Cup in July.
End of May, yeah.
Yeah. So it's really not that much time. And so it'll be interesting to watch if people plow into the Champions League guys and then do those guys crash? Or is the expectation that whoever wins the Champions League probably has World Cup players on them? And so do those guys actually maintain their value with the hope that the World Cup, they just blow out and we all get our shares there?
I mean, we're now trying to predict more than one outcome. I think personally, a safe option in terms of Champions League depth is going to be like a Real Madrid. Man City, teams like that who are kind of historically have good runs. Obviously, again, this goes out tomorrow. Benfica might absolutely smash Real Madrid and ignore everything I've said. That is a possibility that Real Madrid get knocked out when this goes live. But using Real Madrid as an example to answer your question, you've got in game. If I have a quick look at the lineup, so you've got Thibaut Courtois. He should be a safe bet. The next up the list is Trent Alexander-Arnold. He might not even be in the England squad. So you've then got that contrast. Eder Militao, Huijsen, other people like that. Huijsen should be in for Spain, not too sure. But again, Jude Bellingham should be a safe bet. Arda Güler for Turkey. The one that then would stand out for me would be Kylian Mbappe. And I think, I hate to say it, I feel like Mbappe is criminally underpriced right now, and I have 0 shares in him because I just can't. He's injured at the moment, but he's going to be back soon, and there's so many different thoughts and kind of ways to have a little look at what do you do, and I think the quick turnaround is probably going to save a lot of the prices for the football. I really do. I think there will be the odd player that is stupidly inflated. But we've seen that before anyway, when, Yamal and Mbappe were kind of 4 or 5 times the value of the kind of player, the 10th player in terms of value. Maybe that happens again. I don't know.
So the thing I was just looking at, you went in on Adeyemi, who has 2.5 million active shares, and Mbappe's at 4.8, which is a wild number. And I feel like a majority of the conversations about active shares have been, as soon as the contracts run out from all those promoted shares, everything will go back to normal. And now that Mbappe is injured, that contract expiration gets pushed back, because obviously if he's out, you don't use a contract. Yeah. And so now it's almost like we don't get to benefit from him being out because when he's back, all of those shares are still just as active.
Yeah. Yeah. But and this thing goes back to, you're looking at his active shares, but then if you look back, okay, he was, he had a few games of injury, but he had a DNP, and then he had 4th place, 2nd place, 1st place, 2nd place. Does that warrant the 4.8 million active shares? Can you still earn enough to kind of see that as a successful kind of, player in terms of that returns? And I also think that we've got to go down the understanding of when we come to the World Cup, when we come to the Champions League final, because there are so few players so many players become irrelevant so fast. You're kind of forced to make these moves into these bigger guys. And again, it's more so about they're going to, if they don't get top 5 for whatever reason, that's painful. But, everybody kind of puts their chips on the table, and it's just like with these probability markets, you see it all the time. It might be open market is 60% majority, and then all of a sudden it's 99%. And some people still get in for those 1% gains. That's just how it's going to be here. You get in early, you might want to start selling instead of playing for TP if you think it gets diluted too much. But if active shares go up, price goes up. If price goes up, you can sell. There's kind of so many different options to play it that I don't believe it being all that much of an issue. But again, looking at the active shares in circulation is certainly something to kind of think about. One of the reasons, again, why I mentioned earlier in the episode, I like the Bayer Leverkusen guys. The next kind of month, they've got really good fixtures, and I'm just having a quick look. Tapsoba, 2.1 million active shares. Kwanzaa, 2.4. Grimaldo, 3.7. Like, I've got shares in all three of them because I feel that at least one of them is going to come out on top.
Mm-hmm. I think that's super smart. I have no Tapsoba, no Kwanzaa, and a bunch of Grimaldo, and of course he's like the lowest scoring one. Yeah, one of the things we talked about on the show yesterday or 2 days ago now, from when, if anybody's listening to this on the day that it came out, but it is just the opportunities at defender. There are way more opportunities at defender than any other position. That in forward, in order to win, you probably need multiple goals or multiple assists, whatever it is. And in midfield, usually a goal or an assist gets you in the top 5. Multiple gets you probably top 1. But defender, anyone can, like, if you get a goal and a clean sheet, you're first, and anyone can score a goal. And it just feels like in midfield and forward, we always have guys who are more likely to score. Like Erling Haaland is more likely to score than, I was going to say Adeyemi, but I don't want to throw that under the bus right now. But whoever, but defenders wide open, and a lot of the defenders have really low active shares. Like you said, Tapsoba 2.1, Kwanzaa 2.4. There was another one that was super low, and of course I own Schlotterbeck, who was 4.1, and I'm like, oh, that's not the one that I should be good. It was, Romagnoli had like 1.9 when he won. And
yeah, exactly.
So having exposed, that's what it was. Ezri Konsa 2.9 and Lenny Yoro 1.2. Now I understand why people don't own Lenny Yoro. And basically the conversation was defender scores were so low going into Monday and then Yoro was starting. It made a ton of sense to plow into him, because if he got a top 5, like, you were rolling it. But yeah, I think the biggest adjustment that I feel like I have to make in my own strategy is having more exposure to more defenders, because they are often overlooked. And as we see, anyone can get there. It's easier for anyone to get to the top 5 and top 1, as we see with Romagnoli, than any other position.
I think, just quickly going through my own port, I own 1 goalkeeper, I own 5 midfielders, I own 3 attackers, 3 forwards, and I own 3, 6, 8 defenders. Now, using the conversation that we've had at Sorare, I would be able to get 1 lineup out of these guys. I'd have 1 goalkeeper. What I absolutely love about this, and I know we mentioned it a couple of weeks back now, one of the questions was, is defender hardest to kind of guess in terms of a top 5 finish? Because Bastoni conceded 2 goals against Bodo Glimt. They lost the game. Yet he's currently sat at second because he scored a goal and got a 50-point bonus. If he didn't have that goal, if he didn't have that 50-point bonus, he would be, probably finishing 8th or 9th, possibly even lower than 10th in terms of the top charts of defenders. So Sport.Fun for me offers this opportunity for people to go, I don't want to play defenders at all. Ignore them. They're too complicated. I'm trying to rely on Grimaldo, fantastic player, but in order for him to do well, he needs to score a free kick. It's pretty much how Grimaldo gets at the top. He takes set pieces. he gets attacking. He needs an assist, doesn't he? Because he's not going to be getting loads of tackles. He's not going to be getting loads of passes. Whereas a Bastoni, who's centre-back in a 3-back formation, gets a lot of passes. He's going to have a lot of one-on-one dribbles to defend. He's going to have the opportunity to play the long balls. He's then also a big unit to get in the box, score headers, things like that, and corners. So people can kind of pick and choose what they're going to do in terms of the positions that they play. And I think that's a beautiful thing about Sport.Fun is, you could look at these lineups, and I've done it before, which is why, what forwards do I own? I own Ekitike. I can't even find them now. I own Julian Alvarez, Ekitike, and Adeyemi. So Adeyemi was literally, I found a few $100s in my Coinbase wallet, so I thought, sod it, I'll add it in. So I did that this morning, got some Adeyemi shares. Julian Alvarez, he's started playing a bit more. Simeone's gone into kind of a 4-4-2 with him and Sorloth. Unfortunately, Sorloth just dominated it, and Julian Alvarez didn't get a sniff in. And I've picked up some Ekitike because, we're playing West Ham and then Wolves, and I think he'll do all right. But all of these strikers that I've picked up, I've only purchased within the last few days. I didn't own any forward at all before this because Mbappe's injured, and Harry Kane, I think, has got a little bit of a difficult run of games for his price point. So I can just drop all of these players and still compete. And I'd be interested to know kind of how many people might have no position, none of one position. I believe that in Sport.Fun that might happen more than you realise, or people that only have one or two, midfielders and kind of stack attackers. Yes, I think I've heard that the kind of ideal thing is to have 7 forwards, 7 midfielders, 7 defenders, and 5 goalkeepers is like the pinnacle of what you should have your port, because obviously you can only get top 5. If you have 15 forwards, well, they can't all top 5. So you kind of have 7 to give you the best chance of trying to get as many up there as possible. So that's kind of seen as almost the ideal strategy. But I'd be really, really interested in people that kind of have even less players than that would require, and they just completely fade a position and go into another. Because again, that can't happen in Sorare. I think that's another little bonus that Sport.Fun has at the moment.
So I had to look. I have 14 forwards, and now I'm like, man, that seems like a lot. Now one of them is Matthias Sula, who I just hold for his eventual top 1, and I can victory lap that one. Man, now I'm very curious. All right, 14 forwards. Oh my God. 22 midfielders.
Jesus Christ.
I'm trying to who should I get rid of? And I don't really want to. Oh, so 2 of them are Eze and Odegaard, who I packed yesterday. I didn't own any of those shares.
How many defenders and goalkeepers?
I'm confident in saying that I've only bought a goalkeeper once. And it was when Pickford went on the market for the first time, and I got 20,000 shares at 0.01, whatever it was. Let's see. Defenders, I have 15. That I could trim this back. Yeah, I guess I could trim that back. And then goalkeepers, let's see. 7. I have 12, but none of them. They're all from rewards, basically.
Oh, okay. So is it a kind of a join us next week as we hack down Laird's squad and try to optimize it?
I should do. Yeah, I should. You know what I should do? I don't know why I have 10,000, almost 11,000 shares of Neuer. I think I just missed the boat on that one.
Yeah.
And so I should just turn that into some.
How many midfielders do you have?
Midfielders? What did I say? 22?
So I've got 17 players in my entire port.
Write down the list. This is in order of how much value they are. Olise, Pedri, Vitinha.
Are we going top to bottom?
Yeah, top to bottom. Olise, Pedri, Vitinha, Rodri, Kimmich, Jude Bellingham, Cherki, Fabian Ruiz. He's one I've been waiting on forever, so I'll admit that I probably shouldn't have that. Çalhanoğlu, João Neves, Gravenberch and Wirtz, Arda Güler, De Bruyne, Caicedo, Stiller, Valverde, Rice, Højbjerg, Bruno, and then Odegaard and Eze.
Mm.
I'm surprised I have Rice still. I actually usually try to get rid of him. Maybe I'll make some moves today.
I mean, without completely derailing the kind of conversation that we've gone down, I think it's kind of highlights the importance. I'm just using Declan Rice for instance. So Arsenal have obviously no Champions League. They're playing Chelsea this next week. They've then got Brighton away, then Everton at home, then Bournemouth, then Man City.
Who's this?
Declan Rice. So Arsenal. These are Arsenal's fixtures. So Declan Rice is a fantastic player. You know, he's averages probably from quick glance over 100 points each game week, each tournament. He's got, you know, kind of a history of earning decent tournament points, performs well. But when I look at those next 5 weeks, what is the reality of him doing well? Could you move that elsewhere? And I think that's probably your so rare mentality of going, I've got Declan Rice, I'm just going to hold him. You know, I'm just going to hold him and he'll pop up when he pops up. And I think that's almost the difference on Sport.Fun is people look at it probably at a 2-3 fixture period saying, can I get something out of here? We saw Harry Kane saw a bit of a dip after last fixture, I think, off the top of my head, if we go to, he dropped down, like, I don't know, off the top of my head, looks about 15 to 20% in price. He obviously came first, and then they're going with no Champions League game, then they're on the road to Borussia Dortmund. So although Harry Kane is a good hold, people go, he's going to have a bit of a price swing. Let me move the money elsewhere, have a better chance at winning, and then come back in. So it's interesting to kind of look at the play styles, because I certainly wouldn't call Sorare play style as passive. It's anything but passive. However, the way in which players are held is obviously very passive. Most people buy to never sell, and they just hope that throughout that and throughout classic cards they can kind of regain money. Whereas Sport.Fun is very aggressive in its trade style. Very on it. Wirtz gets injured, right? Let's get rid of him.
Yeah, I think it's just the way that the market works, that because there's effectively instant liquidity, you can get out at the price and that's it. And you don't have to look for a buyer. You don't have to wait for somebody to lowball you 100 times before you finally accept it. And so that's the biggest move. Like, you can move faster in Sport.Fun. I just got rid of all my Eze and Odegaard for Rodri. So I cut the list down by 2.
You swapped them into Rodri, was it?
Yeah.
I thought, is there not?
Vitinha has 1 million more active shares than Rodri.
It's not in the news on the squad, but you might. I'm pretty sure we'll wrap it up in a minute. But I'm pretty sure Rodri had something that he wants to leave because of Pep Guardiola. So I'd have a little Google on Rodri and whether he's a good buy. But we'll leave that for another episode. It's been an interesting hour talking whether Sorare sucks or not. I think we can kind of safely say that to some it does, to others it doesn't. I'm absolutely loving the kind of mentality that Adam and the team have by using existing games and prior games that are no longer here to gain knowledge and gain insight to better Sport.Fun. I think it's amazing for the platform that, what's the saying? Sorare has walked so that Sport.Fun can run. Without that game, we probably wouldn't be here. It will certainly be interesting to see over the kind of coming months, if not years, what happens between the two, whether people from Sorare come over to Sport.Fun. I think there are a lot of people in Sport.Fun at the moment who have played Sorare. Probably the majority of people have an understanding of the game, probably, played it at some point as well. Whether there's kind of a mass integration and people playing each game side by side, I don't know. It'd be absolutely brilliant to look to get Sean on the pod maybe in a few weeks and kind of get his thoughts on the Sorare with him still being an active user. But yeah, we'll leave it at that. Is there kind of any closing thoughts you've got, Laird, Mr. Sorare, Andrew Laird, on that?
Just stop being a platform stan. That's all. Like, play what you want, and if that includes multiple games, just do it. Simple as that.
Love that. Perfect. And thank you, everybody, for listening. We'll be back next week with a guest on the podcast. So please, as always, drop a like, leave a comment, let us know that you're here, and we'll see you all next week.